Awesome. All right, well, we can go ahead and get kicked off. I know that a few people here in the room might be trickling in over the next few minutes. I know that there was a redirect walk around, so I appreciate you guys making the journey here. Up and down those stairs is a lot.
And you get your steps after lunch.
Yeah, exactly. It helps you digest some things, you know? What this session is about is really catered around the team's experience, how we can boost productivity directly within teams. We'll go over some of the different ways that I use Teams, but I really want to keep this, especially for folks in the room, really interactional. So feel free to, chime in, ask questions as needed, and as folks trickle in, go ahead and get started.
Should we have Teams open?
It's really, if you'd like to, you're welcome to. If you can't see the screen. And for you folks online, we'll do Q&A at the end. We'll be monitoring chat, and I have Caitlin in the back who can help me also help answer some of your questions. So the first thing that I kind of want to review here is really diving into why Teams has become such a collaborative platform. Obviously, we saw this begin in the pandemic, really skyrocketed Teams and Teams usage. And we are moving here to this place of hybrid work, remote work, in-person work. How do we all become more collaborative? And where do we find these tools? When we're looking at AI and enhancements here, how are we interacting with AI in our meetings? How are we capturing notes? How are we then sharing out meeting notes, scheduling calls? What are the tools and the feature set that's available to you all? Especially, and I'm assuming here, most people are in the GCC environment, so everyone's probably in that public sector cloud instance. Some of you might be in the commercial side, but I'm gonna assume. So when we're looking at the flow of work and how I work, I know I primarily live in Teams, especially as Copilot has been built into my Teams. I sit there and chat within Teams all day long. But really where I'm meeting, where I'm chatting, all of those things are being done for me within the Teams interface. I'll show you how I have automated some of my follow-ups for calls here in the demonstration, how Copilot is capturing my notes in Teams, what are the questions around, if folks have them around transcription and recording pieces of this. One key thing to note as we're going through, for the recap capability, your recording or transcription do have to be enabled at your organization. So I'm happy to spend some time today diving into what that means, especially if you all are sitting in IT and need to create the policy and governance around that. What decisions, where I'm seeing other states make decisions around data retention, those type of topics, I'm happy to dive in there as well. Oh, and I'm on camera too. Oh, that's I just want to. So we're kind of seeing this as evolve as we're all either returning back to the office or settling into this hybrid remote world. We're seeing that most of our meetings, if not all, at least have a bridge open for participants to be able to hop on remotely from wherever they are in the world, and also to be able to capture some of that, the recap capabilities or even some of that cross-functional collaboration. So when we're looking at this, what is a concern as leaders and as an organization? Obviously, we've become, security comes into play. If folks are having meetings in airports, if they are in transit or not in a private area, how do we make sure that what we're discussing on calls is staying private? How are you ensuring those things, and what tools can you start utilizing at your organization to monitor some of that? So I'm happy to review, and as we're diving in here, if you want to learn more about what instance of Teams you're in versus how you are able to enhance it, one tool that we are going to review here today is actually Teams Premium. So that's the ability to say that we'll take all these different use cases and needs, and we can enrich your engagement with AI, either AI technology or some of those security features, as well as some of those advanced monitoring and management controls as well. I'm going to start going over intelligent collaboration. By a show of hands, is anyone here licensed for Copilot for M365? So nobody, has anyone seen, you are, so have you seen an intelligent recap?
I've seen somebody send that notes intelligent recap to me, but I didn't enable and capture it.
Gotcha. Okay. And when they did that, do you know if they turned on recording or did they just turn on transcription?
They turn on the recording, and then there's option to they send the link of the recording and the transcript also.
Awesome. Okay. So the first thing that I'll share here and walk through, and I'll actually kind of hop out of slides and go here to show you all what the experience is like in an intelligent recap. So you all heard in the earlier session, there's this thing called Copilot. That's one flavor of the product. And then there's Teams Premium, which is just lighting up the Teams experience. So whereas before we were talking about lighting up all of your Office applications with AI generative capabilities, if you all are not heavy PowerPoint users or Outlook users, and maybe for most of your users, they might be satisfied with just a chat and intelligent recap, this is your solution to do that because it's a little sliver of the product, if you will, that allows them to unlock this capability. So what you're able to do is either turn on transcription or recording, and after any of your calls, they will be recapped for you. So you can see here, I've opened up a previous call that was recorded, and I find in the chat that there's a recap right here generated for me. So I open this up, and what it's done here is it broke up the call for me by speakers and different topics and different chapters. So I can jump to the point of the conversation that's most relevant to me. There's a question?
I'm sorry, is it possible to dim the lights in front, maybe?
Yeah, can we dim the lights in here?
The next step is off, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
That's a dim ticket. Oh, okay.
Let's see.
Maybe we'll try it out.
A little bit.
I'm not opposed to the dark.
That opens up the lines, I think. Is that a little bit better?
Does that help a little
Is that
bit?
okay?
Yeah.
Even with we're stuck with the way the blinds are.
Awesome.
Sorry.
No worries at all. I appreciate the help.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah,
Is that a different level of license that you're talking about? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So I have a slide on this as well here that will break it down in more detail than me just, because I'm a visual person, than just me describing it. But what we're focused on here today is if you want to just light up the AI experience within Teams, there's a lighter license than the full M365, and this is the version of it. So with that, you will get this intelligent recap where it's breaking down your topics, your chapters, and calls. So this way you can jump to the point of the conversation that's more relevant to you. If this was a 2-hour conversation, 3-hour conversation like we had in the main room, maybe you just wanted to listen into certain sessions, this is where it breaks it up for you to jump to those relevant pieces. You can go over to your meeting notes, and this is where those notes and follow-up tasks were captured. I'll call out here that it also picks up and puts in parentheses the names of the individuals. So if a follow-up task was assigned to you, it will assign it to you in the follow-ups. So that's been very helpful for me to track what exactly I'm responsible for if I'm not able to make a meeting. If your name was called out in this transcript, this is where you can go to navigate to the mentions tab. You can see my name was not called out here, but if it was, this is where it would say, hey, Anna, your name was called out here. Let's click it and jump to the point of the conversation that's most relevant to you. So by far, that's where I go first if I'm recapping a call or if I wasn't able to make it. I immediately hop into the recap and go to mentions and figure out what points of the conversation might I want to listen into. I then can go and as it's generating these notes and follow-up tasks, I always want to vet AI and make sure that what it's capturing is accurate and correct. So this is the transcript. So I can search in the transcript and see line by line what was said, which is very, very helpful as far as just making sure that anything in the notes that's generated is accurate. So you can go in and search for keywords.
You mentioned searching that transcript. Can you search, how do you search the keyword? Are you saying just scroll through it, or is there a search?
No, so I can go here and I could say.
Oh, thanks, I didn't see that.
Yeah, sorry, it's tiny up there. I could go into Copilot, and anywhere that Copilot was mentioned in this call, which is probably a lot, Yeah, 66 times.
So you might as well just read
We
them.
should do that for today. I wonder throughout the course of the day, how many times the word said today. That you're able to go and search through the transcript.
Is this only available if the meeting was recorded?
So there's two flavors there. You can either record or transcribe. This is the full-blown recording, which means that the slides and the video is also in play here. If you just did transcription, this side of the screen would not be available. It would only be that side where it's the notes and the follow-up tasks, etc. So when you get into end user training, this is a piece that we really hit on. So that way, as folks are setting up calls, what parts of the conversation do you want transcription and or recording on? Maybe you just want transcription, maybe you want both. But the key to note is that the transcription just doesn't have the slides or video shared.
So is this not available out of the box for the version of Teams that we're running now in the state?
I'm not sure what your current licensing structure is. Any of the AI capabilities would require an additional either Teams Premium or M365 Copilot, dependent on what.
So it would be an additional cost to what we expect.
Correct.
For the agency.
And Teams Premium, since it's just the AI experience in Teams, transparently is cheaper than the M365 Copilot. So it's essentially the light version. So what I tell folks in full transparency is that maybe for your organization's AI needs, what you need is to start with chat, which is that free, secure Copilot chat that we were discussing this morning. And maybe Intelligent Recap is a great place to start. Because I find primarily most people, when they're looking for an AI tool, they're looking to recap their meetings, and then they're also looking for something to chat against, because that's what they're using, out there with ChatGPT, et cetera. So it's a great kind of complement of the two that doesn't go to the full-blown M365 version of the tools. So something to consider.
So if one of the attendee has the Copilot license, he records, and people who are receiving the notes, they need to have Copilot license?
If you have Copilot for M365, you have all the bells and whistles under the sun. You will have chat, you will have it integrated across all of your applications, you will have access to agents, you will have everything I'm showing here as well.
No, all the meeting attendees should also have the same license, or if
So-
one person has enough?
The license is per user.
Okay,
So if you have a license and I don't, you can have access to the recap and I won't.
okay.
But if, you can copy and share notes too. So what I see often, especially like for Teams calls, if I'm the organizer, I will always make sure to share it out in case some users don't have a license, making sure that they can also have access to the notes. And how you do that is you can go right here and you just go to your notes section. Ooh, I don't want to download. Or my AI summary, and I just hit that copy all. Right over. Trying to zoom with this thing is causing me some difficulty. The copy all button right there copies those notes to my clipboard, so I can drop them in chat, drop them in a follow-up, whatever it might be. Great questions. The last thing I'll kind of call out here too is that content box is also very helpful. So as your end users, maybe you're sharing out decks throughout the meeting, it kind of eliminates the need to share the deck afterwards because it will be generated and dropped into the content box afterwards, as long as the presenter gives access to do so. So if I wanted to share my slides, I no longer have to do the extra step of sharing my slides out. I can just say, here in the recap, I'm okay including my slides. You can include my deck, and then it's all compiled for folks to access right there in the content box. As well as if you all are hosting large-scale events, webinars like today, say an attendance report might be helpful. You can go and navigate to the attendance report right here. And this tells me who joined the call, how engaged they were. This one hasn't been fully shared with me, so I can't share everybody who's on this call with you all, but I can see how long folks were on and off the call, how engaged they were as far as what emojis they were using, etc. Or reactions, I think, not emojis. But this is really helpful, again, for those large, I don't always check the attendance report on every single one of my meetings, but for large-scale events, it's a great feature to be able to kind of track who attended, who was very engaged. These might be people I want to follow up with. You can then ask Copilot, hey, who was very interactive? What were they talking about? Give me a summary, so that way you know to kind of stay on top of that individual. Any questions here? For the folks online, Caitlin, I know you have the chat open, or I don't know if we've opened up Q&A yet, but.
Not yet, we can do it towards the end, or I can go ahead and open it up now, whichever.
It's completely up to you.
If you want to open it, I can start to answer questions.
Okay, and if something pops up, feel free.
Perfect, sounds
I
good.
like when we have a small group, so that way we can interact a little bit more. Earlier it was a little scary. The last thing I'll call out here is being able to have the chat instance also available in your individual meeting. So here, oh, thank you. Thank you. So for the folks online, if you all want to start dropping questions in chat, we'll try to monitor those as well. Thank you so much. The thing that I did here, just to show you all an example of after the call, I opened up Copilot, and what I wanted to know was there was a really great prompt shared throughout this call, so I wanted to steal it. So I said, hey, what was that prompt that so-and-so used? And Copilot gave it to me. And then I said, okay, well, help me draft a follow-up email to this call. And it took everything that we discussed in the meeting and it drafted that follow-up for me. So then I can just go in and I can add my subject line, I can make any of those edits, copy and paste it over, and it's actually relevant and has the context because it was able to look at the meeting that we had. So it includes the follow-up in a more concise manner. Then I can just copy and paste this over and go through. The one thing I will also note, another practice of vetting Copilot's answers and what it's generating is using these little reference points. So these reference points are actually picking up in the transcript where it found its answer. So say for instance you ever get a bullet that's, hey, did we really talk about that, or did I just miss, or maybe I zoned out during that point of the conversation, I want to listen to that again. I always click the reference points and you can see it 15 minutes and 1 second, that's where Megan mentions that key point. So I can click that and it'll take me to go listen in from there. So it's a really good practice as well as, you know, we all talk about this, the general fear of AI taking over and what it's able to do, but it's always a good practice to also make sure that you're vetting its answers, what it's generating is accurate and correct. It becomes critical, so a way to do that is right there. The last thing I'll kind of show here is it's just a key feature to be aware of as you're licensing for Copilot and starting to adopt. The prompts galleries are built in throughout all of the apps, locations, and through chat. So as end users are starting to adopt AI, how do we use it? You just gave me this great tool. I don't know how to get started. The prompt galleries are a great place to go in and just get some ideas of how others are using it. Then you can also take it a step further, and once users in your organization start to use and develop prompts, you can share those out. So I can see, hey, Anna gave access to Caitlin to a really great prompt that she's been using. She can use that over and over again, and it's all saved in your prompt gallery for you. So I call that out because it's a little key button that's down there that's often overlooked but becomes critical as we're all learning how to prompt and talk to some of these bots and agents.
So can we save our prompts? So the pre-built are about 6 or 7 prompts. So I develop my own prompt. Can I save it so that every time I go rather than typing that, I can use the same
Great
prompt?
question. So I can show you that here, and actually I'll exit out of this biz chat and show you some of the ones that I've done. So if I go to my Copilot over here, and I'll go into my business chat, and here are the suggested prompts coming up for me. But I go to my prompt gallery, and this is your prompts. So these are ones that you can see you created this. It was a peer. Transparently, I use it to help write peer reviews. You know, you might get like a perspective is what we call it. Hey, we worked together on this project. Help me, can you give me a little kudos or whatever it might be? So I saved that. So now, because Copilot can go look at all the projects that we worked on when we draft that format. So that's one I created. I can share this out with other folks on my team who might want to use it. Or I can go, and these are some of my team prompts. So these are ones that either my manager pushed out for me, or somebody on my team who might be a more senior level than I am created and said, hey, this was very helpful. So I can navigate to those too. And then of course, these are available to any and all, these are all Microsoft's prompts. So Microsoft will continue to update the prompt library as we go through, and it's all navigated in the prompt gallery. At one point we were calling it like prompt, it was something different. The rebranding here, I really have a gripe with marketing. It takes me a while to make it all make sense, but anyhow. Any other questions here? And for the folks online, was there anything popping up?
There's one that asks if you can distinguish what features are available without the license. I know you'll get into licensing at some point, but.
Yeah, definitely. So everything I'm reviewing right now just is the AI capabilities, and the AI capabilities do require an additional license. So anything that we have gone over is not generic Teams out of the box. But as I'm going through some of the other features within Teams, I'll be sure to call out what is not an AI capability, but I started here with intelligent collaboration. Let me hop back into slides and show you all some of the additional capabilities that you get within Teams. Unfortunately, I had a demo set up for this, and I woke up this morning and it's disappeared from my deck. But what this is allowing you to do is in real time, when you're licensed, to have real-time translation capabilities. It's actually a very bizarre experience I found, because what you're able to do is, my primary language is English, but maybe yours is Spanish. You can talk in your native language, I will talk in my native language, and it will translate back to them in Spanish. But it sounds like my voice. So that's what's kind of bizarre about it, is because I cannot speak Spanish, but hear my own self-talk of what it would sound like. I'm like, oh, I should be bilingual. So I see this come into play, especially in court systems, or maybe social work, where you're interacting with citizens that their primary language might not be English. Any of these translation capabilities are supported with Copilot, so you're able to start having any of your calls with whomever, and there's up to 40 different languages supported. So maybe if we have time at the end, we can test that out to show you guys the experience, because it's pretty bizarre. If not, I'll find the demo somewhere and email it out, because it's cool to see. We've reviewed some of Intelligent Recap, but I just also want to show this breakdown here that helps with the visual of what exactly is included with M365 Copilot. You know, the premium, if you will. It's not actually premium, but like the full-blown license, or just the Intelligent Recap. With Intelligent Recap, which is in the Teams Premium. This is where I'm going to get confused, and bear with me. Intelligent Recap is the Teams Premium Lite version, if you will. So that's just the sliver that's included with just Teams. This is where you get all of those capabilities to be able to have the mentions, the transcripts, this pane of the screen. If you license for Copilot for M365, you get both, and you get the add-on of being able to have that individual chat that I showed, where I could do the follow-up task, etc. So that capability is key if you want them to be able to have a native chat about their data. So with just the light version of chat, it doesn't chat about your data, so to unlock that, you need the M365. Did I lose anybody? Because it took me like 4 or 5 times to get through this for me to get it. So, and they don't make it easy on me at all. This is just a click through of what I showed anyway. And this kind of shows where they both come into play and where they meet in the middle. So for some users who might be very heavy into meeting scheduling, or maybe you're coordinating, I know I work with a department in a different state where they focus on social work, so they're creating appointments quite frequently. This is where they need Teams Premium to be able to unlock some of the virtual appointments features that I'll go over here, as well as they want M365 to then be able to query their cases and say, hey, what's going on with X case? What's the update here? hey, go look into our legal briefing system where we monitor all of that and provide me updates each morning. So that was a scenario where an end user is using both to create the most advanced way. I don't know, what word am I looking for? The most key place of a scenario, I guess. I don't know. There we go. Then when we look at being able to engage, and the last thing I'll kind of close off here too, because I was looking at my notes, the last thing that I'll close off here between Teams and Copilot is that creating a scenario is going to be completely dependent on your organization. So when you're looking at all the different tools that we're going over today, and I know that there's still 2 more sessions here, it can be a lot of information, and it's not always as clear and easy to grasp all of this. So when you're looking at your unique situation, this is where folks like myself and my team can help you break down what exact tooling is the best fit. Never would I say or recommend to anyone to go ahead and get both Copilot and Teams if it doesn't make sense. So wherever you are is where we want to meet you, and whatever tool you want to be in is what we're aiming to do. When we're focusing just specifically on Teams Premium, this is where you're able to unlock the richer engagements. So you can go in here, and there's going to be a lot of different tools that are available that are more advanced Teams tooling. So you'll get everything that we talked about. You'll get all of the intelligent recap, the AI capabilities, but then you'll also have different ways of being able to guide users through your organization as they manage calls and appointments. So we've introduced something called Places in Teams Premium. Has anyone heard of Places before or familiar with it? So Places is now where we're saying, especially in the hybrid world, say for instance, you're hybrid and you're not sure what day to come into the office. You want to come in the days that your team's there. You want to make it make sense if you're going through the effort of a commute to meet. Places is where you're able to upload a map of your building, it helps book rooms, and then if end users share that information, you can see, hey, Anna's meeting with Caitlin at 12 in this building, so that way you know who's coming in and who's not. That end user has to share access to you, because obviously, especially at a place like Microsoft where there's thousands and thousands of employees, so I might not want to disclose my exact location, but I'm okay with my team knowing. So I can share it out with my team and say, hey, Tuesdays and Wednesdays I come in, I generally sit in this room, I have it booked from here to here when I need to meet with folks, and Places is the tool that I do that in. And then there's intelligent bookings. So this is where they're able to say, okay, based on your work history and based on your team that you directly work on, most folks tend to come in on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So maybe you want to start booking rooms around in the same building or the same floor that they're on. It will give you some of those key insights, especially at a managerial level of when are your people attending in person, when are they coming in, how often are they coming in. It gives you all those insights as well. And this is just an example of Copilot showing you some of those analytics. So you can see which days most folks are coming in, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whereas it might be later on a Monday or a Friday. For anyone who is looking to have your own custom branding in the work environment, especially if you are external facing, a way to ensure that everyone has a consistent background or a consistent look and feel to Teams, you're able to unlock that also, where you can go in and start using your own logos, using your own, creating your own policies to enforce all of that for your end users, etc. It's all a part of Teams Premium. We have a whole other webinar going on around advanced town halls and webinars here, and I think there's a follow-up session to it. So I'm going to hit on it at a high level. If there's questions, I'm happy to walk through. This is the advanced piece. So within Teams that you currently own today, there are capabilities around hosting webinars or a town hall. The advanced version of that brings it to higher meeting capacity. So town hall is where you're looking to host up to 20,000 users or attendees at a certain time, depending on your organization or your need for the call. This is where users are by default locked down, no cameras, no mics. You can decide if you want to unlock Q&A. And for that many users, do you want them to be able to see what others are chatting about, or do you want the Q&A to come to you first to filter through? So those are some of the advanced capabilities within town halls that you can start unlocking to start going through. It also gives you custom email templates for follow-up discussions, so it automates some of that process of here's your registration, here is the follow-up email already sent to you after it's concluded. To your presenters, it can send their follow-up tasks, etc. So all of that comes with some of the advancements. Whereas today, I think the cap, if you're not, is lower level, maybe like 10,000, and then some of that automation isn't there as well. But of course, if there's questions around that, or if you want to see a walkthrough, happy to either schedule more time, or I believe, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I believe there's another advanced webinar session going on as well, where they're actually walking through some of that. Now, the most common question I get between webinars and town halls is that town halls are for your large scale events where you don't want people to, it's your least level of engagement. You don't want people having mics on, you don't want their phone, or you don't want their mic on. And this is where you might be doing something organization-wide, maybe internal, external, that's a town hall. Webinars are still large-scale events, but it gives your end users a lot more options as far as what they're able to unlock. So you can turn on their mics, or they can turn on just their microphone. There's the option to customize that thing, those type of things. You can dive in, either customizing your registration page and creating its own web page for your webinar that you can point them to, etc. All of that is built into just webinars. So what I tell folks is that your least interactive type of meeting, do a town hall. If you're still having a large scale call that maybe isn't just your regular meeting, it's still an event, but you want them to at least have some level of interaction, do a webinar. Any questions there?
Do you have to have a Microsoft account to join a webinar or a town hall?
No. So if they're external and they don't have a Microsoft, they can still join. It's just kind of like how you also see with Zoom, where it's like, I'll take you to the link and you have to either download the app or whatever, they can still join. So, but there's no license required for that. Advanced bookings is where you're able to actually start going in and signing up for, if, say for instance, you have, again, I'll go back to the casework because this is what they're using it for, booking appointments with folks. It sends you SMS reminders for the external of, hey, you have an upcoming appointment with Anna, be sure to log on. Here's the link that you can join with from your phone. It also sends a follow-up email. So it's another way to start collaborating and helps with some of those advanced scheduling techniques, especially if you're living outside of Teams. Whereas with internal in your organization, you can schedule meetings from your Teams calendar or your Outlook calendar, and it's all joined together. Bookings allows you to have that external window as well for folks to start scheduling calls with you. The Qs app, does anyone here manage their call center? So the Qs app is where this is more advanced capabilities into being able to do call trees, redirect calls and conversations. You can unlock as well agent mapping within the call trees, so you can go through and say, like push one for here. All of that is mapped out in the Qs app. But the cool advancement that I'm seeing, because I'm not a huge fan of the chat box when you pick up, like I want a person to talk to me. But what I've found has really evolved here with those type of capabilities is that it can do some of that mapping for you. So it's eliminating the need of like press 1 for here, press 2 for this. Hi, how can I help you today? I need guidance with a return, and it maps for you. So you're eliminating the step of 1, 2, 3, so you don't have to wait for them to go through all of. It's intelligent enough to know where to map you based on the verbal native language. So I say that to say there's hope for the next time you have to call your credit card company, that maybe the first thing you just shout is escalate me to a real person. Don't even listen.
Representative.
Yeah, like representative, just start screaming it out.
What I'm excited about is we use WebEx for that thing, but I think what's coming is integration with Teams. And we have a lot of instructors, and a lot of instructors, we need to step them into Teams so they can share their screen and we can see what's going on with their issue. And so that capability is, I'm really excited about.
So what you're
So what I'm saying is someone calls me, I'm on the help desk, they have a problem with Blackboard and they want to show it to me, and I can't see video on our phone system, which is not Microsoft.
Oh, so you have to.
And so there's going to be an integration within that app eventually, where we're going to be able to have a Teams button and just press it. We've already got calendar integration, which is great. But if once we have Teams integration, it's going to step us to Teams where we can have a live video call and they can share the screen and we can see what's going on.
Yeah,
Which
so much
will be awesome.
easier. And then you can just take control. So sometimes it's easier to just be like, hey, are you okay with me just taking control than me trying to walk in through like, no, hit this button.
Actually, with faculty, we very much like to not take control. Because
Really?
we're trying to teach them to use Blackboard.
Well,
You guys try.
fair. Sometimes you probably have better patience than I do, because sometimes I just like, no, this is what we're doing. Has anybody done a mesh experience? Been on a call with a mesh? Mesh is odd. Transparently, I kind of find it just to be a really fun, interactive experience. My team, we actually internally do it about once a month just for honestly fun. If we have some folks more senior than I am have actually like the VR headsets that they can put on, and it's kind of odd to see your coworker in an avatar format in a Teams call. But it can be super fun to be able to go in and actually have more of that feel of, oh, we might even be in person, see the avatars kind of interacting. Transparently, the avatars kind of freak me out a little bit, but I'm getting used to it. But Mesh is also just a cool thing to go explore, see, especially there's actually a hospital that's starting to use Mesh with kids to be more interactive and more accessible. The kids love it. So it's a really cool thing, even, as you license, to go look at it and check it out. The last thing that I'll kind of close off here today, because I know that we have about 5-ish minutes left, is just some of the advanced protections and management within Teams Premium. I hit on earlier that, as end users are going into these hybrid worlds, you want a little more control over where they're at. Maybe you can't control where they're having meetings, but you can control what they're doing with the data and the content of the meeting. So it unlocks a lot more of the security features to be able to either label meetings as highly confidential, lock down. You can turn on different things like watermarking, where it is maybe you're discussing a policy and you want watermarks to go across. So if somebody snaps a picture of it and decides that they want to throw it on Facebook, you can narrow it down of what meeting it was in and where it's interactive. Same with screenshotting content as well. Becomes very important, as well as, maybe you're discussing either products that are coming out, launches, any of that proprietary data that you don't want to be shared widely, suggest turning on watermarking. You can also limit you can also do this by default, but just another capability within Premium is also being able to limit who can record or transcribe. If you as the organizer want that capability or not, that's actually not even a feature of a Premium that's standard out of the box. Everybody gets that, but just a call out there that you can limit those things if needed. And you all, if you're an admin at your organization, you can create those policies for your end users. So we don't expect every end user to figure out all of those settings. But for the admin who might want to create standing meetings, organizational-wide meetings, making sure that those meetings follow your organization's policy can be done. I'll kind of go through these really quickly, but there's advanced analytics for your admin, also in the collaboration tool, so you can see what are your end users actually using. Maybe you start with HR, because they host a lot of calls or webinars or trainings or whatever it might be. Who are the folks that are using it, and who has not touched it? Because we will not give you a license again. So this becomes a great key point here to kind of look at, that this unlocks a whole host of deeper analytical data to see how end users are using Teams. You also get more advanced features around telemetry, especially in those wider scale calls of webinars and town halls, of being able to see what's really the issue. Is it my Wi-Fi or is it my end users? Being able to check the call health real time, either at the admin level or delegated out, however your organization sees fit, is part of the premium. These last slides, I know that they're hard to read and very small fonts, the best slides are. But these are the exact product specs going through when you're looking at what features sit where. This is where you can go in and see, especially as it relates to Copilot, what makes most sense for your organization, of what might be the best licensing structure and fit. These I will be certainly sure to share out for users, but I suggest reviewing them. They'll be at the bottom of the deck for your review. And I kind of went through some of the demo, so just see what it looks like. And then the last thing that I want to pull up here too is, again, if you weren't able to scan this, or if you want to fill it out again, by all means, happy to follow up and dive deeper. If something jumped out at you that you want to chat about, feel free to fill it out. And I think there's like an other box. Just type in your use case of what you're trying to accomplish, and we'll be sure to follow up with you and schedule some time to go through and talk about what's going to be the best fit for your organization. And then let me check the chat to see.
There's nothing else in Q&A.
Okay, awesome. Well, if anything else pops up, please let me know. I can hang on for a few minutes, and I know that there's about 3 or 4 minutes left, so does anybody else have a question or anything?
I have just kind of a general AI Copilot ChatGPT question.
Yeah.
If that's okay?
Yeah.
So my understanding of Copilot is that it is based off of OpenAI, which is also what ChatGPT is based off, right?
Correct.
But ChatGPT is like, I feel like it's updating at an exponential rate because of how fast I guess it's learning. Because it's open source, I guess. Does Copilot update at the same rate, or will there be a point where it's far behind ChatGPT because one's closed source and one's open source?
Fantastic question, especially because this becomes more important in the public sector. The biggest piece to note with our billion-dollar partnership with OpenAI is that what we're allowing at that level is that we can share models for learning, et cetera. That's what we have partnered with OpenAI to accomplish, which OpenAI is ChatGPT. So what we're saying, and why this is important in the government community, is because all government cloud instances, the language model that we're using is ChatGPT 4.0. So we are saying we will vet this, make it compliant with GCC and all the regulations that you have to adhere to, and we will version it out and push it to you. So by default, you're on a versioned instance of ChatGPT, and as that model advances, Microsoft will do the maintenance to update that model, but you will be on the latest version of that publication. So it's like a versioning pushed out, kind of like how you update your phone. You'll be running on whatever that model is at that instance, and then we'll update the model and version it out. You see that come a lot quicker, commercial, because there's not all the red tape that we have to navigate through to update that model. But as we're doing it in government, we're doing the work to update the models, become more intelligent, et cetera. The key thing to note is that it's not becoming intelligent off of your data. It's becoming intelligent over public source information. So when your end users are using other tools like ChatGPT or et cetera, where is that data getting stored, and is it training on my information? So it's on the Wild West of the internet. It can go off into fairyland. So then we're looking really at being able to say this is what chat solves, the Copilot chat instead is what that solves. Because once you're authenticated in, you have the enterprise data protection piece in play. It's saying you're running on our latest version that we've updated for you, and it's not getting any more intelligent off of you. So it's a safe and compliant way that you can start interacting with your organization's data versus maybe a different model has more up-to-date information, but is the data that you're chatting about going somewhere else that you don't want it to? So it's a complex, I don't know, hopefully I fully answered your question. There's like 10 pieces there going on.
Security layer.
Exactly. And the key thing to note with chat, especially in public sector, if I didn't hit on it enough in the big room, but by default, we have web content off. So what that means is that we are running ChatGPT 4.0, the version that we have in there, against just that's what you're chatting against, is just that model. It can do a lot of things, but I think the last time ChatGPT 4.0 was updated was in May. So if I say, hey, what's the weather today? It doesn't know because it doesn't have access to that information because it's not web grounded. So do you at your organization want to enable web? And then what does that imply as well when you do enable web? It gives them more up-to-date information, but that leaves a little bit of room too for end users to be able to chat about something that you might not have as much control and granularity. So by default, we're giving you the most locked down version possible. And then you can make the decision as well if you want to enhance it. My biggest thing, anything that if you're not blocking a Google search engine or any search engine today, if you allow your end users to have access to the internet, it's the same concept, but it's just the educational piece of teaching them, hey, you might not want to drop highly confidential information into a search engine today. So, yeah, but happy to dive in deeper there too. I can actually have a really great slide too, because I know that this comes up, and I don't want to hold you guys because I'm a minute over. But if it's of interest, I do have a really great slide on the security end of things, of what does that web content actually look like, and I find that it helps bridge a lot of gaps where it helps explain it to me. Oh, and I didn't share my screen. No, you're good. So this is the last thing I'll go over, and I see that people are entering and exiting, but it's really important to note. So this slide, and I'll be happy to include it in the follow-up since it came up and I have attention. This is an example of what the prompt, this is an example of what web content enables. So this is a prompt that the end user gave. And what it's going to do first is it's going to search that large language model. And then it's going to search if you have the M365, your internal data. And can it come up with an answer? If it can, great, it will send that. If it can't, it will send out to the web. So what exactly goes out to the web? It breaks down your prompt and says, okay, what I can answer for is Capital financials and strategy. So that's the piece that I need web to go pull for me. So that's the only piece that will leave and go out to the web. And when it does that, all documents or files that have been uploaded that your end user gives are dropped. They're not attached. All queries are disassociated from your user ID and your tenant ID, so it's an anonymous search. So maybe, for instance, if I was doing a ton of research on Fabricam, I don't want the general public to know that Anna was doing that, so it's disassociated from my identity. And it breaks down the prompt to be a lot shorter. So it's only giving the engine those very specific details that it needs to be able to enhance the answer. So there's a lot of security by default. I know that, I don't know, if you are the ones to make the decision of web content on or off, happy to go in even deeper here to show you exactly what the considerations are. But this slide really explained it to me well as far as what we're talking about when people are saying, do you want to enhance with web or not? So happy to throw that in the slide deck as well for folks. I know there's probably a lot more questions, so I'm around.